Okay, I guess you can consider this my extension of the other video that I did just not long ago. I was talking about the dating sites, and so I guess I just need to just like really air it out because I know this it says parody, Black People Meet Parody. It says ghetto blackpeoplemeet.com. But anyway, um the reason why I'm talking about these things, I guess because some people I guess are really trying to meet other people and they just keep trying and trying and trying. And there's a lot of risk even with these dating sites. You know, it seemed like the risks were there when you'd had to meet someone in person, but you'd at least get to see who they were. They couldn't escape, who they are, what they look like, on these sites. You can put, you know, you could lie about your age, you could lie about your weight, you could lie about your height. And a lot of times, what women have gotten is men will lie about their height, age, and sometimes how they look. And they'll lie about whether they're single or not, and they could be married or have like a long term relationship. What women have done, I've heard from men, is sometimes they'll lie about who they've been involved with. Sometimes they lie about how they look, um, their age. Sometimes they'll say they're older when they're a lot younger, or they're younger when they're a lot older, or they're a certain weight when they're not that weight, or their looks, they'll compare themselves to someone, or they'll build themselves up to be something that they really aren't. And when the person sees them, that's not who they really are. Or they'll post a picture of themselves and it will be a picture of them, but it was them like maybe 20 years ago. And these are the photos that show up in these on these websites. You'll see like photos of people, uh, you know, that's so they can get out of saying that they weren't being honest. They'll say, well, that is a picture of me. But what they didn't say is that was a picture of them when they were 16 and now they're, 25, 35. And, you definitely don't look, some people may retain some youth, but not everyone. And some people definitely don't look how they look when they were 16 at 25, 35, 45. So a lot of times they'll put a phony picture of them. It'll be them, but it'll be a phony perception. You'll you'll perceive them to be younger looking or youthful looking when they really are. They've gotten of age or whatever. They're not very truthful. A lot of people are not honest on the sites, and then what they're looking for. They're not being honest about what they're looking for. They're looking for something shorter term, and they'll lie and say they're looking for something long term. They're looking to be married, and they really aren't wanting to be married. They're just wanting to play around. Um, and with what's going on nowadays, the diseases and some of the other drama that goes along with getting involved with people you don't know a lot about. You don't want to put yourself out there at risk for something that you didn't sign up for. And so a lot of times I find that to be the case. Um, to the other thing outside of just people on these sites is a lot of these sites, they want you to pay money. They want you to pay money. And like, let's say you go on one of these sites and you see someone, and that someone is someone you might want to really meet. And so you decide, oh, I want to meet this person, but you go the step further thinking, oh, I'm going to meet this person. and try to see if I can, get in touch with a good person or whatever, somebody who's decent or whatever. And then you find out that this person is not who you thought they were. They're not the ideal person. Um, and what ends up happening is that you end up regretting having even, gotten in touch with that individual. So you're trying to figure out how to erase that person from bugging you up or whatever. And so that's a problem. The other thing is that you got to pay for these sites. Some of these sites, you'll meet a person, maybe there's somebody you are interested in, but you can't leave but like maybe one or two messages before they start asking for money. Or if you start surfing around and you start surfing around enough for people and you run into an issue, it's like, oh wow, I found the right person. Or that's a person I might be interested in trying to leave a message. In order to leave a message, they want you to, you know, purchase a membership for some of the sites. And so there's a whole host of things that come up, people you don't want to meet, and then people you want to meet, then you wind up having to, they want you to pay just to have further conversations. So what some people have done, they've been clever. They'll leave a message, they'll say, well, here's my phone number. And you better call that because if you keep calling the site, then they're going to want payment or whatever. And so the person will leave their phone number. Sometimes they won't allow you to, they won't allow you to leave a message. You can only like leave like something small, like like it's an automated message, something that you have to hit the button and say, oh, interested or whatever. But they can leave a message, but you can't, because if you're not a paying customer on the site, then you can't leave the message. Every site has their own things that they do, and there's just different things that I've noticed. Also, let's say you get to an age where you want to go out, but you don't want to go out because of all the craziness. So you choose not to go out because if you do go out, you find out. Well, here's an incident that happened to me one time. I'm going to mention this. So I go to this meet and greet or whatever, and this couple was there. And at the time, I assumed they were a couple, but I wasn't for sure. So I was talking to one of the persons that was part of the couple, and I was telling them, they were saying they were going to go on a vacation and we're going to go travel. And I was asking them what kind of things they were going to go see. And so that person that they were involved with intervened because they were so jealous, just because of the dialogue between me and the person they were involved with. They were so jealous and felt like they had to let me know that this is the person I'm with, in their subtle way, remember I'm this person's partner, or this person's spouse, or whatever, however they wanted to convey themselves. And so I was thinking, wow, is it come to that now where people are so desperate that they have to prove themselves, that they have to be all over the person, in their face and kissy poo and in front of the other person because they want that person to know that they're in a relationship with that individual. And I guess it's come down to that because people are so, they're so, how would you say, some people are starved for that attention and they want you to know, somebody's paying attention to me and I don't want you to interfere with that because that takes their attention off of me. So I need you to not be in the middle of it and to know that this is my spouse, and remember that. So and they were like really, really like in the way, and let me know. And then I think they felt a little guilty by the way they came off. And the person told him, you kind of came off a little too strong. She didn't ask me for my phone number or anything. So then the person tried to act like they were, friendly because, I'm not the kind of individual that if I'm interested in a person that I come on really strong or I started, acting all, funny and all that kind of stuff. I don't, like I said, I don't chase people. So, you know, if that person's interested in me, that's what's going to end up happening. It's not going to be me, running behind them and, acting like I'm all starved for attention or anything like that. Because remember now, it's not an ego thing. Trust me, it's more. I'm not interested in looking for a relationship. So we'll keep that in mind. Some people are, and my mindset is not really thinking like that. But I had to remember that there are other people out there who are really into that. And sometimes I forget and I'm not thinking about it. And some people will approach me a certain way or whatever. And I'm thinking, I'm not interested. You know, I'm not interested in getting involved with anyone. And I haven't gotten a side eye or anything bad or anything. It's just, the way I handle things, I'm really casual. I'm really kind. I try to be considerate of others, but I'm not thirsty. You know, if I'm thirsty, it's going to be for water, not for people, for that kind of drama attention. So I feel like when you put yourself out there, you make yourself more vulnerable. And the way I look at it, I guess I have an old fashioned way about myself. If a person is interested in having a relationship and they're serious, they're going to try to look you up. You shouldn't be running around chasing and hunting after them. They want something, they're going to let you know, and they're going to be man or woman enough to tell you. If they can't be man and woman enough to tell you, then it's not worth it. And if they can't be honest and say, would you like to go out for, something to drink or, could we talk or whatever? People who show an interest, they're gonna be an adult and they're gonna come to you in an adult manner and in an adult fashion. But if you gotta be ducking and dodging and gaming one another, it's like high school stuff. That's the way I look at it. Now, I know people that are younger, maybe they like doing things a different way, but I'm just saying from my standpoint of view, when you get of age, you shouldn't have to be playing a guessing game and, ducking and dodging. It should be something where, it's clear cut, the person has an interest, and then you go from there, and that's it. It shouldn't be where you're playing a cat and mouse game. That's the way I look at it. It maybe sounds old fashioned to some people, but that's the way I view it. It's like it doesn't make sense for people to have to be wondering if is he or she interested, and then a woman, if she's interested, she'll let you know in her way. She's gonna say what she's interested in or not interested in, if she's interested in being in a relationship or if she just wants to, meet and see how things go, and that's fine too, but you have to be careful because some of these people, you don't know where they're from, what they're involved in, if they've been, involved in criminal activity, if they've been involved in, gangs, um, if they're trying to involve you in something you don't want to be involved in, and or if they're married. Some guys are married. They're married, they have a wife somewhere and you didn't know anything about it, and you find out, you know, I've heard stories where women find out later down the road after they've fallen it for the person that the person was already married. things like that. And I think it's sad, but that I've heard a lot of really bad situations there. Now, there was one situation with this one young lady. She was telling me that she lived with the guy. They had lived together for quite a while. And she had a baby. She had a son by him. And the guy, I guess he gotten himself in a lot of trouble. He stopped working and she was doing all the work. She was paying all the bills. And at first she was relying on him to do stuff. And it got so bad that they couldn't even flush the toilet because the water was shut off. There was a lot of things that were going on that weren't happening, when he was productive and he was working and he was holding down a job. They were paying the bills. But when he stopped working, he stopped, being productive. And I guess he got involved with drugs and things like that. Their water was shut off. There was a whole host of things like utilities were interrupted where the lights were out. And she said she went through that for a period of 6 months and she couldn't take it anymore. She said her and her son couldn't be in the dark. And there would be times they wouldn't have anything to eat. So she finally had to get up the nerve to find her employment and start working. And she had to be the one to be productive because the guy wasn't. And so, no matter how she talked to him, no matter how she confided in him to try to get himself together and to clean himself up, he didn't want to listen. He just wouldn't get his act together. And so she found herself having to be the breadwinner. And it wasn't something that she just elected to do. She had no other alternative but to do it because if she didn't, then there wouldn't be anybody making any money and no food and nobody helping her son. So she had to do what her son's father wasn't doing. And so I feel like a lot of these videos of these males who are very angry, they don't understand what some women go through when they're in these relationships. I feel like African American women will try to do beyond and above in relationships, sometimes things that we really shouldn't be doing. And that's been done for so many decades. And it's a loyalty thing and it's overblown. And it's to the point where these men don't respect us. And they feel like, oh, we've used them up, we've trampled over their hearts, we've done everything, had babies, left them with babies, and left them, pretty much on their own. They're no good. And now they've moved on to these other women who are, if they're not black, they're white or they're Hispanic or whatever. And these women don't even know. They're not even knowing some of the stuff that some black women have experienced. They just assume that we're these bad women and we're demanding and we're too difficult to deal with. And what these women, unbeknownst to them, what they don't even realize is that some of these men that they're with are probably the very same men that some of these women, when they were doing all of the things that they needed to do to be a mate, they just weren't getting their act together. They weren't working. If they had a job, they dropped the job, then they just expected the woman to take care of them and do everything and do all the work while they just kind of sit back and do whatever they want, hang out, drink or whatever, and take drugs or whatever. And then the woman is working and she's paying all the bills and doing all the work. And see, these are the things that they're not coming out and saying. And I'm saying this, and there are some men out there that are like this. And you see all these hurtful videos, all these videos that display all these negative characters of African American women, yet they never tell you how some women have been left with children, abandoned. The guy, he'll say what you want to hear and he'll build you up and he'll make you think that he's going to be there for you, and then he leaves you with the kids and you're stuck being the single mother. You didn't want to be the single mother. You didn't think you were going to be the single mother. You ended up the single mother because that's where he put you. He put you in a situation where you're the single mother because now you have the babies It's not like you can like take it back. You know, the babies are here. You are there with those babies. And so these are the stories you're not hearing. Also, the women who they take care of the males. You know, the male doesn't want to work. He sits on his butt all day and he just stays home and he complains and he's abusive. And those are the guys that you don't often hear about. You just see them and they say all this stuff about how women aren't doing this and they're not doing that and they're not, you know, they're not certain women are not fit to be mothers and a single mothers this, single mothers that, but you don't know how those all those single mothers became single. See, there's two sides to every story. You're hearing a one-sided story, and oftentimes it's the male telling the story about how bad women are and how you know unattractive they are and how you know there's so many single mothers, but he's not telling you how she became single, what happened during that course of the relationship that caused the singleness to happen. And so these are the stories that aren't getting out there. You're not hearing those stories. You're just seeing all these men, they choose to go with all these other women. And then when you see these stories on the news with Tristan and Chloe and Tristan cheating, black women who know all together too well what that is. We know, we know what that is. And that's why you'll find a lot of us who have chosen not to be involved with those type of guys. And so we'll choose, well, okay, just be me and my kid then, because I'm not putting up with this from you. And some women out there have decided they're not going to put up with it, and those women will wind up being single mothers. And so these are the stories that you're not hearing. And I'm just being honest. And a lot of times you'll have some guys that'll get angry when someone tells the truth about why some of these women are in their predicament. All of the women are not in their predicament for the same reasons, but you have some that are in their situation because of what I'm saying. They were with someone, excuse me, and that person wasn't, you know, they weren't genuine. They weren't, you know, honest. They weren't forthright. They weren't kind. Um, they weren't looking out for the well-being of that woman and child. They're into only self-gratification. You know, you're not hearing the stories about the guys who are just looking for sex only, and then or they have it in their minds that they're going to play a woman, and you know they lay down with her, and then if she gets pregnant then they deny the responsibility. You're not hearing the stories about the male who builds the woman up and tells her all the things she wants to hear, and even if he learns that she's expecting, he builds her up and says, I'm going to be there for you and the baby, and then he runs out as soon as the baby is not even born yet. Before the baby even before the woman even gets to her 6th month, he's ready to disappear. You know, some guys will stick around. You're not hearing the story about some of the guys who will stick around when the baby's born, because the baby is the pawn, the ticket, so that he can have a place to stay, because what his thing is he doesn't want to work and he doesn't want to do anything. He makes excuses rather than looking for work and being productive and trying to help, you know, bring, you know, some income in the house. He requires that the woman does everything. So she's doing all the work, she's bringing in all the income, she's footing all the bills, and he sits at home and he waits for her check harder than she does. And so you're not hearing any of these stories. You're hearing the stories of, oh, this woman ain't shit, this woman did this woman did that, but you're not hearing what these men have done. And so that's the reason why you have some women who are single, because some of them have chosen to be single because of all of the drama, and then others have not wanted, originally, they didn't want to be single. They ended up single mothers because that baby's daddy left. and didn't want the responsibility of being a father. And so you're not hearing those stories. And so I just want people to realize that there's two sides to every coin, two sides to every story. So it's not what you're thinking, you know, all the time. There are some women who the baby daddy is in jail. He can't, he can't stop getting in trouble. So he's locked away. And so that woman, she looks like a single mother. She has the baby daddy. She calls and does the visits, but he's not living at the house. He's in prison. And so you're not hearing all of the stories. You're not really realizing what these women are going through, what women sometimes will sacrifice just to say they have a mate. Some women will put up with the craziness because they are afraid of being alone. There is a fear of being alone or being called, oh, you're a single mother. Oh, what did you do wrong? Because the woman is blamed for the inadequacies that happen thereafter. It's never blamed on the guy because he can, he can leave. He can pack up, leave, and go start a whole nother family somewhere else and start anew. But how can women do that? Women often are not able to just do that as quickly as the males do. I imagine there probably are women, if they are like that, I would bet that she's like just really fucking careless or she's on some kind of drugs or something. She doesn't give a fuck. And she's like, I'm just gonna pack up, leave these babies and leave them on you and get the fuck up out of here and out of Dodge. Usually when it's a woman like that, she's like feels like she has nothing to lose. She's on something or she just doesn't give a fuck, or whatever. But most women who care about their kids and who are like really wanting to be there for the kids and everything and they don't want to leave their kids behind. They take care of the responsibility, even if that means that the baby daddy is going to leave, And so you can't make somebody stay with you if they're not going to stay. And so a lot of times these women wind up single for those reasons. And there could be a whole other number of reasons as well. So things that I haven't even mentioned. Maybe she finds out that he already had a kids and family somewhere else. He doesn't tell her until after she winds up pregnant and he tries to convince her to have an abortion. She says, I'm not going to have an abortion. And then he gets pissed and he starts to threaten her or his other baby's mama threatens her. Well, you need to get rid of those babies because these babies were here first and I'm his wife and blah, 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 whatever you guys had, it was temporary. This is always, So there's a lot of stories that you guys are not hearing. I don't see or hear anybody talking about those stories. And it's unfair. I find it to be unfair and counterproductive. It's not really being honest. It's not telling the truth. Like some of these marriages, not all these marriages are what you think they are. On the photos, they look like people act like they love each other and they're having a loving, happy relationship, but you don't know what their marriages are like behind closed doors. You don't know what their conversations, if they get along, if their marriage is working out, if it's rocky or if it's shitty, if it's a shitty marriage. They're not going to come out and tell you that. They're not going to go to church and say in front of the church and in front of the congregation, our marriage is shitty. Our marriage is shitty. He's an asshole. I hope he dies. He hopes I die. They're not going to tell you the truth in church. They lie. That's why I say Christian people don't tell the truth. They go to these churches and tell a bunch of fucking lies. They do. They lie. They smile. Oh, the Lord is this, and the Lord is that, and the Lord, and all that. The next thing you know, you hear Sister so-and-so had a divorce. It's like the same people who they were married like 50 years. What fucking happened? Well, their marriage ended 10 years ago before the 50-year mark because he was cheating, she was cheating. These are things you don't hear anything about. People lie, they don't tell the truth. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like people don't, they're not really being honest. It's like, okay, marriage is already, it's hard enough as it is, but why do you fucking lie to people? Just be on. I have not yet found one person to come out. The only time you find they tell the truth is when you see the bad stuff on the news. So and so got separated, they got divorced. That's when the truth comes out. When shit hits the fan and they can't hide it no more. But when it's all like, let's hide this shit, let's hide our fucked up marriage. They hide it. Church people do that. They hide a lot of shit. They hide a bunch of shit, and you don't find out. Some of them are not good at hiding stuff. Because, like, one minute they're all saved and they're talking about scriptures and the Lord is this, and it's not look to lean to not your own understanding. Then tomorrow, I'm gonna beat that bitch ass. I'm gonna kick her ass. Do you know what that bitch told me? I'm like, is this the same person who was talking about Psalms, 23rd Psalms? Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like people don't fucking tell the truth. They lie. And that's why I don't even really believe in the religion stuff, because it's full of shit. It's full of shit. It's just like a book that people wrote and they were fucked up. And then they wrote some fucked up shit and wanted people to believe this fucked up shit because it was a bunch of people, because they knew some people are not going to have a lot of money. Some people are probably going to be poor. Some people are going to have a fucked up life. So let's just make this book so everybody can feel comfortable, even in their fucked up state, because we got to have something for them, because some people are going to be unhappy. So let's just make this, and this will be the guidebook for people who are fucked up. I have a fucked up life. And so maybe that'll help the masses of people that we can't help, because everybody's not going to be able to have a lot of money. They're not going to live perfect lives. And most people are not going to live perfect lives, but we're not going to tell the truth. We're just going to put all this bullshit in the Bible. And here's the other thing, is that when you go to some of these churches, beware, because some of these, now what I've experienced in the Black community, which is notorious for doing this, is the prosperity preaching. There were preachers that all they preached about was having money. And usually this is coming from people who come from a poor background, have never had money. So their premise of preaching was always about, well, if you're riding the bus and you didn't get your prayers on, God wasn't listening to your blessing. Your blessings weren't answered because you're still riding on the bus. If see now, the one over there, Sister so-and-so, she got a car last year. And she got a nice car because her blessings weren't blocked. What kind of shit is that to tell some people in church, some bullshit like that, and this is the kind of preaching that they would do, like Creflo Dollar. Anybody seen that? The televangelists, they're notorious for that. Well, you get your blessings blocked because you weren't paying your tithes. So when you don't put your tithes and your money in the plate, that's the reason why you're blessed. That's why you can't find a mate. See, the reason why Sister so-and-so couldn't find a husband, because her blessings were blocked, because she didn't put $10 in the pot for her tithe. She been holding out on her blessing. God is holding out on your blessing because you holding out on your tithes. See, I told you I know about religion, because I'm just telling you I know about religion, because like that's what my people were rooted in. So it's like, it's a bunch of bullshit, but I'm telling you, and they do this, and Black people are notorious. See, they don't tell you this stuff. They go to church, and then the preacher, he has like a BMW, a Ferrari, a boat, a speedboat. He got, like hotels that he can go to in Dana Point or something, and you still catching a bus if you ain't barely got money to pay your light bill. Stuff like that. And because you're too busy putting money in the pot to pay your tithes, and that was your rent money, stuff like that, so that's why I don't go for all of that stuff. And even they get in your relationship. Well, so-and-so, that's the reason why you get married, because their blessings weren't blocked. God opened up and he found you a mate. I find out some of those people in there in the church are trifling. They're more trifling than people on the street. And so this is the kind of stuff you're not hearing about, and they won't tell you. You won't know until you won't know until you go up in there and find out. And sometimes church is like an extension from the nightclub. You'll find more people in there in some of these churches that will dress a particular way as like they're trying to pick up somebody. And they lie, "Oh, we're gonna go to Bible study." They're not going to Bible study. They're going to a motel or they're going to the person's house so they can have sex. Stuff like that. So people lie. They're not telling the truth. And so that's why I just don't like the lies, the games that they do. You know, like they got this site called Christians Meet or something like it's the same thing. You might as well take that off of there. Just say that black people meet. Just be like that. Just be like that because that's the same thing. Because you guys are not no more Christian than these people walking that you see together, coupled up. You know, it's like, you're just regular people. I mean, it's like, be honest, and a lot of the stuff is game. So I just say beware. They do a lot of prosperity preaching. I know they were doing that. And it's like, how many people, black people, have heard about the building fund? Every black church has a building fund. I mean, that's what it used to be. Well, we're gonna put this money in the pot because we're saving money for the building fund. There's this big building that they're gonna have this showboat church that they're building because it's like this. It's almost like the building fund is like the build you putting money in to build for the Noah's Ark or something. There's this big building, this big thing, you guys all participating, I don't want to block my blessing. So let me put my money in the pot. Now you broke, stuff like that. So it's, so this is the kind of stuff that happens. And everybody, they just kind of fall in line with it. I stopped doing it. I stopped, I was like, can't you see this shit is a game? They do this shit every year to build and fund. And then when they do get the building, something else they want to build, or they still haranguing you for tithe. Well, God is not is a loving God, but God is also he can be easily stirred, stuff like that, stuff to make you feel guilty because you didn't put a nickel in the tithing pot. Or if it's changed, like they'll tell you, I don't want the money that jingles, I want the money that sways in the wind or something like that. That's green, it's it's so much drama. Even with this, sister so and so, then they announce how many people got married, but you never hear about the divorces except when they preach about marriage and trying to stay with your mate. And then they start putting all that misogyny stuff in it. And you already divorced before the marriage start. You start hearing the stuff they tell you, well, the woman got to do this and the woman got to do that. And, and then you got to go to this woman's meeting to meet all these other women who are all stuffed up in their little dresses and all that. And it's just so much drama. It's a lot of drama involved in it. And it's like, how come people can't just be real? Just be honest, be real, just say, look, I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. There, But all this playing games and pretending to be stuff you're not, and they church people pretending to be people they're not. There's a few people who really are genuine and they may be religious, but they're really genuine. They're not out to do anything harmful. But then there's some, they have these other agendas. Those are the ones that I'm referring to, really. It's just, you just got to watch out who you're around, and it's these sites. I don't even feel comfortable going on none of them at all, really, to be honest. I would suggest, I know people would go on them anyway. But when I saw this stuff popping up all over the place, I was like, you know what? I'm so done with it. I don't even want to do it. I don't even go on there. I'm not saying I haven't ever, but I'm saying I don't, as of now, as of even like I can count, like the months. I have not. I just it's a turn off. It's like, forget it. I'm done. I'm done with it. And then when I saw this stuff with the religion, it almost felt like the last church that I went to visit. They were like, ever since the gay thing, the gay equality marriage started, felt like they were like pushing people to get married, like trying to find people who wanted to get married, like hetero people, like let all the people who haven't got married, let's hurry up and get them married. And I kind of didn't like that because I was like, that's fucked up. It's like, oh, now that you see, it's like, see, you don't marry her, then see, look what's out there. See, look what they're doing. Look, it's gay people. Let's hurry up and get you married. It's like that's not nice. That's not nice. It's like you're the last resort. It's like, what kind of shit is that? It's like, see, look, if you don't marry her, this is what's out there. It's like, what kind of shit is that? You're not supposed to do people like that. But that's what these churches have been doing. I'm not lying. Some of these churches, they've been kind of pressuring people to get married because of the marriage equality stuff. And I seen that the one church I went to, they were like trying to get even people you would never guess would get married. Like, what the fuck? They were getting married. I'm like, let's see how long that one lasts. Let's see how long that one lasts. And maybe some of them will last a while. And then some people lie. They'll say, "Oh, our marriage is fine. How's your marriage going? So. Oh, our marriage is fine." I don't even talk to certain people. I had a friend, she got married. She had invited me, a couple of people had invited me to their weddings, but I didn't go. I'm not trying to be mean. I just didn't want to go. I'm tired of going to weddings. I don't want to go to any more weddings unless it's my kids getting married to someone. I just don't want to go to any more weddings. I think I went to enough weddings. So, I don't need to see any more weddings unless I'm related to them. My kids are getting married or whatever, and I'm going to be, you know, a parent in the wedding or whatever, like, Megan's mom, something like that. But other than that, I'm not going to any more weddings. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I'm just tired of it. But anyway, with that being said, I don't know if this sounded kind of funny or whatever to you. I'm not trying to make it out to be like a joke or anything, but it just, some things just get on your nerves after a while, especially this phoniness. And then, what really, before I leave, what really burns me up, there's this lady that I work with. All she thinks about is people getting together. It's like, I don't even know why somebody's with her. She's annoying. I'm like, I'm a woman and she's a woman, but she's annoying to me. I'm like, I'm female. This is not supposed to happen. Why am I annoyed by you? I'm like, how does your husband do it? Because if I was him, I'd be annoyed. I'd be extremely annoyed. It's like just the voice. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's like, yeah, 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 yeah. That's how she sounds. It's like, and you're married. How did that happen? It's those ones. It's like, what the fuck? Who is he? Like, it's like, jeez, whatever, but anyway, maybe that's my other side coming out of me or whatever, but I just don't understand how some people meet these individuals. How do you meet these people? And and I think she's gotten a little cocky because she thinks because she has this husband and everything, that's all she talks about. It's Tom this, Tom this. But she works late. And when it's time to go home and be with your spouse, she's not there. She's talking about working late. I'm like, that's a red flag. If your marriage is all that great, then how come you're always staying late to work? Why? And you're not even getting paid for this. What's the deal? And one time I started noticing that. And so one time a custodian person Or a person that works later was saying, you know, so and so stays really late. She's kind of told me a little bit, and I watched her. It's her home life. I don't think the relationship's working out, and her, family life is kind of, rough. And I'm like, really? And these were things I already was thinking in my head about this individual. I was like, she ain't being honest. So women lie. Women who are in these relationships that say they're married and they're happy, they even lie. They'll lie and they'll say, "Oh, I'm happy," and all that, and they're not happy. They're not fucking happy. They're pissed. They're mad, or they're irritated. A couple of times she showed up and she told me how irritated she was with him. And that came out, I guess, because it got to her so much that it just came out. And I said, actually, that's the way she always feels. She just now is releasing it because I've been around this person for so long. I guess she figures I'm not going to remember, but I remember it like yesterday. She's like, he gets on my nerves. All he talks about is Trump. All he talks about is Trump. Trump this and Trump that. All he talks about is what Trump is going to do, and Trump this and Trump that. Donald Trump this and that. I said, well, and you married it. And he married you. So I'm just telling you guys, some people are not being honest when they're telling you they have these happy relationships. They're not always happy like they say. They're not being forthright. They're not being completely honest. And so, but anyway, with that being said, I'm going to cut this one off. But yeah, so you got to evaluate what people say. It's not always it's not always what they always are saying all the time. Sometimes it is, but not all the time. They're not entirely telling all of the truth. They're telling bits and pieces of it. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to let this go. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for listening. And good luck in your search. And don't be like these people in the corner right here, where you have to visit them behind glass or whatever.